Okay, hello everyone, my name is Laquan Williams, and today in this video topic I wanted to do a review and discuss the new Mortal Kombat 2021 movie that just came out. It was released yesterday, it was released today on HBO Max, started at midnight, obviously, if you could watch it. I watched it this morning. I wanted to talk about it, obviously the differences and some similarities that were presented in the previous two films, the first ones that came out, which was 1995, which was the original Mortal Kombat movie, and then the sequel, which was in 1997, about 2 years later. And so the premise and the story of this Mortal Kombat movie is focusing on Scorpion's family and his backstory, his character, his ninja clan, and obviously how he became who he was. Obviously, Scorpion, I guess you can say the Hellspawn, Hellbound, demon-like ninja. We never knew how he became like that. Obviously, we saw that, and we also saw how Sub-Zero, his arch enemy, we never knew how they became. Obviously enemies and sworn enemies, and we found out obviously what happened years ago and centuries ago. Their clans fought each other, and Sub-Zero killed obviously his family and his kid, and obviously his members of his clan, and wiped them out. But one of his kids survived apparently, and Raiden came in, and we saw the movie. Lord Raiden came in from the Earth, not from Outworld, from the from obviously not from his realm, not not Outworld or the Earth realm, but he came from his land, obviously his temple and whatnot, came to save him, and obviously his kid, who apparently is the sister to Cole, who is Scorpion's grandson of his lineage, apparently. So I'm not sure who that is, but it's possible it might be Princess Katana, but it's not looking like that would make sense. It's possible it could be because she has lived and been around for centuries, and there was no mention of her name or what she looked like and who his sister is. So we'll see what happens with that. So basically, Cole Young is apparently, who's an MMA fighter / kickboxer. He is apparently the descendant and the sole owner of the bloodline to obviously Scorpion, who is his obviously grandfather from centuries ago. He did not know that. He's been having visions and nightmares about it, and he did not know obviously how far, what was that about and whatnot. So he saw that taking place. He has his own family, his daughter and his wife, and basically, he never knew why he had the dragon tattoo, which is the Mortal Kombat symbol on his chest. He believed it was a birthmark, but apparently he didn't know what happened. So the premise of the story is that when anybody who has the Mortal Kombat logo or mark on their body is supposed to be one of the chosen ones to represent the Earth Realm in the fight against Outworld and Shang Tsung and all his bad guys and whatnot. So they kind of changed that. So basically, anybody who has that on them was apparently chosen. Sonya Blade did not have one at all, but apparently when she killed Kano in the movie, she got his mark placed on her body. It automatically happened. I thought that was kind of weird because they were kind of saying how everybody who has this mark is the chosen one, and basically whoever has it is able to obviously be a part to fight against the evil in Outworld in order to save the world and represent the Earth Realm. So she never had it, but in the story, she had it, but Kano didn't have one, but he was a bad guy, so I thought that was kind of weird, but we saw that happen, and Kano has replaced Johnny Cage in this movie, if you haven't not known that. When the sequel comes out, Johnny Cage is apparently supposed to be in it, that's what we're told, so we'll see what happens with that, but he was not in this because apparently his personality was going to clash with Kano's because they are very similar, so we'll see what happens with that. That's what happened and what took place. So, but if you've watched the first two movies, you know that even though I believe it was one of the writers and directors were saying Johnny Cage was not supposed to be the focus of the movie, they wanted to change and make it different. Johnny Cage was never the main focal point of the movies in the story. If you've seen the first Mortal Kombat movies, it was always Liu Kang. He fought Shang Tsung and he fought Shao Kahn, the main two bad guys in both movies. He fought them. He was the big, huge hero, the main chosen one. Obviously the number one guy that was going to be Raiden's best fighter, he was. So they obviously, I don't know why they said that. That was kind of confusing, but so after Cole obviously learns of the mark and whatnot, and Jackson Briggs finds him and lets him know about that, informs him of the mark. He has it too. They get saved. He saves him from Sub-Zero, obviously, but that obviously doesn't help out because while Cole takes his family to go to safety, Jax goes to after Sub-Zero, and Sub-Zero takes his arms off and freezes him and breaks them in half. So that's how Jax gets his arms removed from him. And then obviously in the movie, we see what happens with that. In the second movie, Annihilation, he actually didn't have his arms taken off. He had the biometric arms on top of his regular arms to enhance them. So in this case, it was different. He had his arms obviously completely removed from his body and had to get new ones obviously on. Apparently, everybody has their own special ability. The Akata, I believe that's what it's called. It's like kind of like Ki, I believe, something like where you find your inner abilities and you have to unlock them and your potential and whatnot. So after Kano was killed by Sonya Blade, she was able to shoot beams at her arms / hand and kill Melina, which Cole was fighting. So she now has abilities. Kano eventually got his laser eyes, obviously, but he'd have a faceplate over his eyes like he did previously in the movies and some in the video games. It was just regularly on his face. It was just his face. It was, his face was scarred up and scratched because they got into a fight. Him and Sonya Blade and Cole got into a fight with a big, huge reptile. It wasn't Reptile the fighter. It was the actual reptile, the one that can move around. It can cloak itself and turn invisible. They fought against that, and obviously we saw Cole fight against Prince Goro. He killed him, and that was pretty crazy. How they had Goro look. He looked even way more realistic than he did obviously in the 90s movies. We saw that. We saw Lord Raiden. He didn't get involved in fighting Shang Tsung, but he did explain that obviously he couldn't do that. They were at his temple, so his temple is apparently a sanctum for all the fighters to train at and stay. He had some medical staff type of members or people there working on Jackson Briggs to fix his arms and whatnot, so that was different from the previous movies. Obviously, it was very interesting to learn the ordeal of Scorpion and Sub-Zero's obviously main obviously rivalry that we didn't know about, how far it went back and how deep it was. Still will be very interesting to see when Johnny Cage and Princess Kitana are in the second movie, if Cole Young's sister is obviously Princess Kitana, because like I said, and we know she's been living, and she has lived over hundreds of years and centuries because she's very old, but she obviously doesn't look like that. So she could be the kid that, like we said, that Lord Raiden saved from Sub-Zero, killing with his clan, killing obviously Scorpion's family and his clan and whatnot, leaving them to die. And after Scorpion died, he went straight to the underworld / hell to look for revenge and find Sub-Zero. That's obviously how he became more angrier and grew to be the person who he is, obviously, which is the hellbound Scorpion ninja, obviously a warrior. So we saw that. Cole obviously didn't know about his abilities and whatnot, and everybody else. Liu Kang trained to help him and Kano fight, but they told Sonya Blade that she could not fight because she didn't bear the Mortal Kombat dragon mark on her. So because of that, she was not one of the chosen ones, so she stayed out of the whole fighting ordeal when it came to training. But she did fight Melina. Cabal was in the movie. He looked awesome. I liked how Cabal looked. He was very funny as well. Melina looked very scary, and compared to how she looked in obviously the Mortal Kombat 1997, her look was more different. She knew her face was not covered, and she obviously had razor sharp teeth, fangs, kind of and her face was scarred up. She obviously was in this movie again, but she obviously was in the previous second movie, Mortal Kombat Annihilation. Cabal looked great. Kung Lao, I loved how he looked. His costume and everything and the get-up, he looked great, and I'm glad to see him in the movie. It's unfortunate that he obviously died. Shang Tsung took his soul, so I don't know if he'll even be able to come back in some type of way. They said that Sub-Zero will be brought back as Noob Saibot in the next movie, because if you saw towards the end of the movie, Shang Tsung teleported all his fighters back to Outworld. So I don't know if he's going to revive them or whatnot, if everybody's going to come back in some type of a sense, but he was able to bring them all back. But we obviously don't know if he's going to revive every one of them, but Sub-Zero being his main fighter / general and whatnot, we'll see if that's going to be the case. Cabal and apparently Cabal and Kano knew each other apparently when they were obviously working together in this type of a gang slash organization called the Black Dragon. Kano apparently is the one responsible for putting Cabal's face in that mask that he has, which is scarred up. Apparently, we never saw what his face looked like, but apparently his face is very messed up, scarred, and disfigured. And that's the reason why he's in that, is because of obviously Kano, which was admitted by Cabal. He told Shang Tsung that he was the one that was responsible for it. I think that the movie should have been a lot longer than it was, at least by like 20 minutes. I felt that it was a little faster. And as far as the characters kind of interacting with each other, we didn't get to see much of that. Raiden only talked to the fighters, only a little bit. He didn't talk to them while they were training specifically. He left that basically to Kung Lao and Liu Kang to train Kano, and obviously Sonya Blade, but it ended up being basically just Kano and Cole fighting against Kung Lao and obviously Liu Kang, and then they fight each other. So that was basically it. But I think Raiden he says obviously he can't get involved physically with the fight, but him talking to them and giving them knowledge and training them obviously is what we could have seen. What he saw, yeah, that's what I didn't like. I wish it was longer. I wish Johnny Cage was in it. I didn't like that. Apparently Cole, and they changed it. He's a made up character. He's not real, so they just made up saying, "Oh, this is Cole Young, and he's apparently the descendant of Scorpion." They made it trying to the focal point of the story was to bring up the and show how the fight between Scorpion and Sub-Zero was an important and integral part of the story and how it came about, but making that the case and making up Cole as a fake character in order to make that happen was very smart, but I think it was really weird. It was supposed to be Liu Kang. He's always been the focal point, obviously, and the important character. I wish they would have kept Kung Lao and not killed him off. I wish they would have brought him back, because this was the first time we've ever seen him on screen, and it was great. It was just very unfortunate that he obviously died. Hopefully they can bring him back in some type of ordeal, some type of way, obviously, because we know people are always brought back with resurrection and whatnot, and Shang Tsung is going to bring some of his fighters back. I don't know if he's going to bring back everybody, but he's going to bring back some of them, obviously the bad guys who work for him as fighters. So we'll see what happens with that. But it was very fun and entertaining. It was cool. Like I said, I wish it was just a little bit longer. I wish Johnny Cage was in it. I wish Raiden would have fought Shang Tsung. That would have been cool. They did argue back and forth, and that was not the case. That big huge guy that had the hammer in his hand, I don't know who he was, but he was some type of character. He was the only character that I never heard about or never knew, so I don't know where he's from, but he fought Jax, and Jax beat him up and killed him and gave him a fatality. It was pretty cool. How they had it. Sonya fighting against Melina was cool, but she didn't obviously ultimately kill her when they fought each other after, because Cole got involved when they were fighting. Was fighting her obviously when they split them up. So apparently they didn't have a full-on scale war. Lord Raiden was told by Jax and Cole, how can we take them down? So Cole told Raiden to teleport them to different areas, and so they could fight the guys of the villains, obviously the bad guys, separately. So Kano was fighting Sonya Blade separately on Earth, while back in Outworld, Cole and Liu Kang took on Melina and Cabal separately, but they were still in the same area. But it was like, a 2-on-2 attack team. And Cole didn't kill Melina. Sonya Blade came out of nowhere and shot her with beams out of her arms and killed her. And that's what happened. The Scorpion fight versus Sub-Zero at the end was very cool. I like that. It was very cool. I wish that was a little bit longer myself, like I said. But the movie was cool. Like I said, I wish it was like 20 minutes longer. I wish Raiden would have fought Shang Tsung a little bit. Actually, he didn't fight him at all, but I wish he would have fought him a little bit. But that probably will happen in the second movie. Raiden will probably fight. I don't know if he'll fight Shao Kahn in some type of way, or if he'll fight somebody else. He might. But if you've seen the first two Mortal Kombat movies, which I have right here, the first one, Annihilation, you can see right here. I have them both on DVD. I grew up watching those movies when in the 90s when they came out. I was a kid. I was playing the games and watching the movies, and even now I don't have a problem watching them. Yes, we know there were some issues in Mortal Kombat, obviously, to Annihilation with Scorpion appearing on a camera too early when he was supposed to kidnap Katana. We can kind of see him, and that kind of messed up with that editing issue. I understand that, and some people, obviously myself, were confused as to why the whole entire cast was changed, except for the two actors. Obviously, the actor that played Liu Kang, and obviously the actress that played Princess Katana were the only two people throughout the whole entire cast that were not changed. Everybody else was gone. There was no other actors that were in the first movie that were in the sequel, and also in the sequel, Mortal Kombat Annihilation in 1997. Johnny Cage died within the first about 5 minutes into the movie, 6 minutes, something like around there. He died. Shao Kahn snapped his neck and he killed him after he was trying to save Sonya Blade. And because obviously she got dragged into the fight with him and Raiden, and Shao Kahn told Raiden, "Bow to my feet, or your precious humans are gonna die." Raiden didn't do it, so he killed Johnny Cage because Johnny Cage tried to do a flying kick to Shao Kahn. He punched him while he was flying at him midair, but the problem obviously was that he had Sonya Blade on the ground with his foot on her neck, and he was about to kill her. He grabbed a whip from one of his generals, his warrior masters, and he grabbed the rope, threw it around her leg, and dragged her, and he was about to kill her. But obviously, like I said, Johnny Cage stepped in to help, and he died obviously in the first 5 minutes of the Mortal Kombat movie Annihilation, which was the second one, the sequel. But yeah, like I said, the whole entire cast was changed in the second movie. It was insane to see that when you look at that now. It's really crazy because it's like it's Mortal Kombat 2, but it's not. It's not a reboot. It's actually continuous because at the end of the first Mortal Kombat movie, after Liu Kang takes out Shang Tsung and they think they won, it's light in the sky, and then like seconds later, the whole sky goes dark, and you hear Shao Kahn's voice in the background, his scary deep voice, "Bow to me," and then he appears as this big, huge, giant character like Galactus from Marvel, Silver Surfer, obviously, in the sky, and obviously he tells Raiden and everybody, Johnny Cage, Sonya Blade, Liu Kang, Lord Raiden, and Princess Katana, to bow to me, and he calls them weak, pathetic humans, and he told them to bow to his feet. Lord Raiden said, "I don't think so." They go into their fighting pose stance. The movie is over, and that's the end of it. Then when the sequel comes on, it shows them going actually out to Outworld, and obviously we get to meet and see Shao Kahn for the first time. And they obviously get the introduction against him, and then we see him and Raiden fighting. So that's what happened in that, and you can see the rest of the movies if you have it to see what else happens. But like I said, the movie was cool. I just wish it was a little bit longer. I wish Kung Lao didn't die. I wish Cole's his suit, I don't know what, it was really weird how they had it manifest on his body. Some people thought that he was apparently related to Baraka some type of way. I don't know, but it was kind of weird how his suit was. But apparently, he, like I said, the whole ordeal is when people unlock their Akata, their special ability inside, they get their special powers, and it manifests and it comes to them. That's basically what happened, and but like I said, it was very cool. Like I said, I wish it was a little bit longer. There's some things. I think the Outworld tournament is still gonna happen again in some type of way, but it wasn't like a full-on scale tournament, so I don't know how that's gonna take place, but we'll see. I don't know if they're gonna have, like I said, Raiden fight in the next movie. If we do see a new movie, it won't take place until 2023. But we'll see what happens with that. It was interesting. The fatalities, it was more gory. It was obviously way more intense than the other previous two movies. It was cool. Like I said, just some of that, like it just felt a little fast, and the characters didn't obviously get a longer chance to meet up with each other and obviously train. And I think the whole ordeal of them training was obviously very lackluster. It was very short. It was just like 1, 2, 3, very easy. And I thought that was weird how they're not gonna have Sonya Blade fight and train, but she can fight obviously and help them with the back with take down Shang Tsung and obviously all his generals of Cabal, Melina, Princess Goro, Melina, Goro, Prince Goro, Melina, Cabal, and that big huge guy with the hammer, obviously. So we'll see what happens with that. I thought that was kind of weird, and he had a harpy lady type of character flying around, and Kung Lao took her out with his blade hat, his sharp blade hat, and he cut her in half literally. So we'll see what happens with that. Like I said, but we'll see. I think just the Scorpion Sub-Zero fight was cool. Scorpion's whole ordeal, his costume was different. How they kind of have him in the video game, it kind of mixed it in with him being like a old school type of ninja, not like a new with his get up, his clothing. Sub-Zero's costume looked way more modern. His costume looked older, and I actually liked Sub-Zero's costume more. To be honest with you, I thought it was way better looking. They kind of kept him to like a old, like a 80s, even early 90s ninja get up type of ordeal with the hood on, a long hood over his head. He never wore that really, obviously, but he did. I think he did take it off. You know what? Actually, no, he didn't take it off. No, he didn't. I thought, yeah, he didn't take it off, but he looked cool, and his it was great. I enjoyed the fight between him and Sub-Zero, but actually, we saw most of it, and during the previews, if you watch any of the trailers, you kind of see most of it. I don't know, yeah, but they kind of gave that away, but they kind of had to give it a little bit away for people to obviously enjoy the fight and whatnot. We'll see what happens with that, with the sequel, when the sequel happens, and obviously if they're going to fight again. So apparently there's going to be a sequel taking place. It says on Polygon that 6 ways Mortal Kombat's ending sets up the sequel. If Mortal Kombat is a hit, we're definitely getting a Mortal Kombat 2. Mortal Kombat, like any modern day Hollywood blockbuster, leaves the door wide open for a sequel or multiple sequels. The new movie only will scratch the surface of the Mortal Kombat mythology, or scratches the surface, and pulls selectively from the fighting game's massive, ever-increasing roster, while the film's director, Simon McQuaid, said he really didn't talk about sequels at all during the making of the Mortal Kombat movie. He admitted that there are some joiner bits that set up Mortal Kombat 2. Mortal Kombat screenwriter Greg Russo also told Polygon he approached the series as a trilogy. We're already setting up our roadmap, and Russo said, as a writer, my goal is to always be looking ahead to. If you've seen Mortal Kombat, which is out now in theaters and also on HBO Max, starting today, April 23rd, then you probably already know what's coming in a potential sequel. If you haven't, and you don't mind a bunch of Mortal Kombat spoilers, here's everything that the movie lays the groundwork for in part 2 and part 3. Cole Young sets off to find Johnny Cage. Yeah, he goes to Hollywood at the end of the movie. He tells the promoter slash fight guy at the gym, he says, I'm not going to fight for you anymore for $200. I'm going to Hollywood. So and then we see a poster of Johnny Cage, his belt buckle and his hands that have his name on it, his face. We didn't see, but we saw that he's going to be in the movie, in the sequel. That's what they teased. While Johnny Cage didn't appear in the first movie, outside of a movie poster, he's all but guaranteed to show up in the second Mortal Kombat. And at the end of Mortal Kombat, at the behest of Raiden, Cole Young has a new purpose: find more warriors in the battle against Outworld. Yeah, and also Princess Kitana should be in it as well. Mortal Kombat producer Todd Garner calls Cage his big carrot for the sequel. Garner said in an interview with Polygon last month that Cole Young stood in for Johnny Cage in the movie as part of the filmmaker's effort to have a diverse cast instead of another white guy hero. But with Cole established and the need for a much bigger group of Earthrealm defenders, Cage is easily a lock for the Mortal Kombat sequel. I don't know why they're saying that, because as we've seen and we know, Johnny Cage was never the main guy to fight at all. He was killed in the second movie, like in the first 5 minutes, like I said, in Annihilation. First movie, obviously that was not the case. He was not the main guy. It was obviously Liu Kang. It was always Liu Kang. Liu Kang fought Shang Tsung, killed him. He fought Shao Kahn in the second movie and killed him, who's also Raiden's brother, Shao Kahn. So I don't know why they keep saying that we didn't want to have Johnny Cage as the main part. That's what they said. Then they also said Johnny Cage his personality would clash with Kano, because they're both comedians. They're both trash talkers, so they can only have one of them in the movie. So there's a bunch of reasons and excuses of why they're saying that they did not have Johnny Cage in this movie, and that's what I did not like at all. It's like he's like, not important, and he's kind of like the Yamcha of the Mortal Kombat world. Like, even though he's very popular, people keep dumping on him and trashing him like he's not important. He's always been a very important character, and he's an original character. He just come out of nowhere. He's been in Mortal Kombat since the beginning, and obviously in both movies. Even though he got killed in the second movie in the first 5 minutes, like I said, Annihilation. If they do have the sequel, the person who's supposed to be playing him, in my eyes, it has to be Ryan Reynolds. There's no way they can't have him as Johnny Cage. He's funny, he's great at trash talking, and it'd be very entertaining to see him as Johnny Cage in the movie. If they do have him play him, it has to be Ryan Reynolds. I don't see anybody else playing him, honestly. So let's see what happens with that. So it says Sub-Zero will return as Noob Saibot. Yes, Noob Saibot at the end of the film. Sub-Zero is still alive, but he was charred to a crisp by Scorpion. Sub-Zero appears to barely survive his battle with Scorpion and Cole, thanks to Shang Tsung's teleportation tricks. He will live to fight another day, possibly being known as Noob Saibot, though it seems highly unlikely that name should be set on screen, given how ridiculous it is. No, not really. I think he will be him. Screenwriter Greg Russo says that Noob Saibot is a big part of his plan of the Mortal Kombat trilogy, so he'll be there. I knew that introducing Bi-Han as Sub-Zero in this movie would eventually show his destiny becoming the character. In the introduction to that, Russo told Polygon in an interview, and I so wanted to see his death in this film, and ultimately I wanted the movie to end with him being portaled out of the Elf Realm, where he's going to become the next iteration of himself. Yeah, so the Earth Realm is where I'm obviously where they obviously have Raiden in his temple and whatnot. But planet Earth, obviously, getting there and whatnot, it requires them to travel and to teleport, obviously. So we'll see what happens with that. Where he becomes Noob Saibot, where he becomes the next iteration of himself, and that was all written, that was scripted. That Sub-Zero goes into the black portal because we know where he's going. The blackness of the portal is just great for the Noob Saibot character. He's literally going into the smoky blackness, so that's what it sets up. Goro lives. Sub-Zero is the only warrior among Shang Tsung's rings to be pulled into the smoky blackness. Goro, despite being disemboweled and reduced to 3 hands, seemingly likely to return in a Mortal Kombat sequel as well. Viewers didn't get to see Goro tear anyone in half, and that just doesn't seem right. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that. So there's Shinnok, Kitana, and everyone else. Mortal Kombat is full of nods to the game's lore, offering teases of fighters like the Great Kung Lao, Nightwolf. Yeah, Nightwolf's picture was shown in here, so he'll probably be in the sequel. Shao Kahn, he had a big statue in there. Raiden, and 2 conspicuous props at Raiden's temple were Shinnok's amulet and Kitana's fan blades, hint at the expanding of the lore of the Outworld in the land of Edenia, where Kitana, Sindel, Queen Sindel, who is Princess Kitana's mom, Jada, and other Mortal Kombat characters originate. We're so packed in this story with Earthrealm and Outworld to start bringing in the Sindels and Kitanas, and it just would have been an overload. Of course, obviously, they're not going to put all those characters in one movie, but that's what sequels are for, obviously. It would have been overload. The screenwriter Greg Russo said of Mortal Kombat's roster decisions, it would have been Mortal Kombat Annihilation, where it was just every character they could think of. Well, it's a sequel, so I thought that was fine. But we'll see what happens. But at Mortal Kombat Annihilation, at least we saw a fight between Raiden and Shang Tsung. Raiden and Reptile. And obviously Raiden versus Shao Kahn. Raiden didn't fight in this movie. Hopefully he fights in a sequel. Now that the roster's been thinned a bit and Shang Tsung is promising armies, there's room for more fan favorites in a sequel. Kano's face is screwed up. Mortal Kombat's comic relief. Kano meets a gruesome end in a scrap with Sonya. But the Kano players, known for the Mortal Kombat games, is a man with a half-cybernetic face. Given Kano's reptile-infected wound and guarding gnome ocular injection, we're pretty sure that most of the Aussie mercenary's face won't return for a sequel. But in the world of Mortal Kombat, no one's ever truly dead. Even Shang Tsung, as said at the end of the film, says something to the effect that death is just an illusion. The actor who plays Kano told Polygon in an interview, hopefully the point would be that they would come back bigger, badder, and harder. That's what I'm looking forward to, given the chance of a sequel. I would love to see Kano 2.0, because the Kano that we all know and love with the metal plate was not in this movie. I really feel like this is setting that up. The tournament needs to happen. Apparently, the main players in Mortal Kombat, about the importance of the upcoming tournament, they talk about it, which could have serious implications for Earthrealm. Given Shang Tsung's plan to kill off the competition, he simply delays the tournament, which actually doesn't seem to have been addressed in a formal way. Director Simon McCoy said that there was intent behind the decision not to showcase the tournament in the film. If you look at the evolution of Mortal Kombat has gone from the original games and movies, the tournament aspect was obviously key, McCoy said, but noted that it's become less so as the series has evolved. We weren't just thinking for the first 5 years, we were talking from the whole franchise. Also, we didn't just want to do the whole original movie over again. If you do a tournament movie script structure, it really drives and informs how the film turns out. We didn't want to do that with the first film, with the first movie in 1995 had already done. We wanted to address and pay service to the evolution, but we also did not want the tournament to hamstrung by the script, the structure-wise of the movie script of a tournament movie, but we knew we had to have that ingredient be part of it, so we wanted to use it, but then subvert it. So that's what happens. I don't know what's going to take place, but the sequel won't be out. There's Kano right there. He was funny. His jokes were funny, but like I said, when they have Johnny Cage in the second movie, I don't know if Kano's going to be in it as well, but Kano has to be, well, if he's in it, obviously has to have the metal plate on his face where he shoots his laser beam out of his left eye, if I'm not mistaken. Johnny Cage has to obviously be in it, which he will be in it. He'll be the comedic relief that that Kano, replacing Kano, which was in the first movie, which just came out, obviously. So we'll see what happens with that. The movie was cool. I'd say it's above average, but like I said, it needed it to be 20 minutes longer. I would have liked to see Johnny Cage in the movie. I would have liked to see Princess Kitana in the movie. All these Easter eggs and hints that they're going to be in the second movie, which were obviously shown in the movie and set up for that. I thought it was kind of weird too. You know, Sonya Blade and Jackson Briggs, or aka Jax, fought somebody, and apparently when they killed them overseas, the dragon tattoo, they saw it leave its body. They figured out about that. They basically tracked it down to this huge lore of Mortal Kombat, and that's how they found out about it, and the dragon tattoo, and apparently, because Jax has it too, I thought that was kind of weird, but that's how they based the story off of. It was cool, but like I said, it was okay. It was above average, but like I said, it needed to be longer. Johnny Cage wasn't in it. Princess Kitana wasn't in it. They killed off Kung Lao pretty quickly. I think they shouldn't have done that. I think that he wasn't given it the right justice. He was disrespected. Johnny Cage was disrespected. Cole Young's whole body suit armor type of ordeal looked a little weird. I don't know what was that about, but that's what that was his special ability / power as he fought Goro, and it manifested onto his body like how Iron Man's suit does as well when he transforms into Iron Man, and the suit just that computerizes but forms on his body. So we'll see what happens with that. We'll see what happens with that. It'll be very interesting to see what takes place. Will there be a sequel? Will there, and hopefully there will be. But like I said, it was okay. Just some things were missing. It would have been nice to see Shang Tsung have an interaction with Goro. That didn't happen at all. And actually, they didn't even show Prince Goro's face when he showed up to Outworld. He said, Shang Tsung said, "Oh, thank you for coming. We're glad you're here. I'm glad to welcome you here to like my kingdom and empire." Outworld was kind of like a little weird. It was like a big huge mountaintop where Shang Tsung sat on his throne, but they went down. They had like a big huge kind of mountain hill where they had a bunch of people down there that were working for him and fighting for him, kind of like slaves and whatnot, some type of ordeal. It was okay. It just kind of looked weird. It would have been very interesting to see Shang Tsung actually teleport and go to the Earth realm and obviously trick some of the fighters, obviously. Into thinking that he's on their side or whatnot to take them out, but that obviously wasn't the case. It was okay, but like I said, just some things were missing. It should have been a little bit longer. There was no name put to the daughter, who was apparently Cole's sister, who's Scorpion's. I would say probably Scorpion's obviously second child that was saved. We don't know who that is, so I'm guessing it might be Princess Kitana, or it might be Jade. That's the only two people I can think of. They said it was a girl, obviously, so I don't know who else that is. That's the only two people I can think of. We'll see. Probably will be most likely be Jade. It won't be Princess Katana, obviously. So we'll see what happens with that. The Elder Gods were talked about, but the Elder Gods were not shown in this movie. They probably will be in the second movie, with their temple also being shown, besides Raiden's temple as well. I thought it was weird how Kano knew where Raiden's temple was, but nobody else did. He says he used to run guns out of there or something. I thought that was really weird. He could take Sonya and Cole there, but they didn't know where it was. I thought that was really weird. Even though Sonya and Jax are special forces and they were supposed to go there, but they didn't go there. Also Jax was fighting Sub-Zero. He went in there by himself, thinking that he could kill him with a shotgun in his bare hands, and he didn't, obviously. Sonya couldn't track down Jax with their special forces. Why didn't you have a tracking device on his phone to know where he was at? They obviously were talking to each other, and they had this operation planned for weeks to track Cole down and his family and help them out, and obviously find Sub-Zero and whatnot. So I thought that was really weird. Like I said, there's lots of questions about that. We'll see what happens about that. It was cool. But like I said, some things needed to be improved. We'll see what happens with that. I'm gonna have to watch it again to look at it. But if you have not seen the other movies that came out in the 90s, I suggest you see them. The first two, obviously, 1995 and 1997 is when they came out. I had them both on DVD. I got it off Amazon like 6 years ago, around there, in a regular 2-box set. One box, obviously, right here, as you can see. I have them both. It's 2 separate DVDs, but like I said, it's together. But like it's cool. I don't have them on VHS. I never did, but it's nice to have them on DVD now. Unfortunately, there's no bonus footage or nothing on here, or no behind the scenes stuff. I will look to see if they have that somewhere, and if they do, but I don't think they do. It's possible. You can find footage online of old movies like Power Rangers '95, one of my favorite movies of all time. You can go on YouTube and other places. You've seen old footage of them behind the scenes, shooting the scenes, talking to the actors and actresses, and showing what they look like in their costumes and whatnot. We'll see if they have that for any of the Mortal Kombat movies of the 90s. I don't know if they do. It's possible. I don't know. I'll have to look that up, and we'll see what happens with archive footage and whatnot. We'll see. You can find it somewhere. It's possible. Even if it's on VHS tapes. But if you have seen the movie, let me know. If you have not seen the movie, if you're not interested, if you haven't seen the first 2 movies, let me know. I also want you to let me know what you think about them as well. Video games of the Mortal Kombat franchise. If you've been a fan for a couple years, or you stopped being a fan, why? If you're not interested in seeing the movie or whatnot, just let me know what you have to think and discuss about that. Thank you again for watching. My name is Laquan Williams, and like I said, this is my review for the Mortal Kombat new movie that just came out. Obviously, this is a reboot, 2021. Out of 10, I give it a 6. It could be a 6.5. But like I said, it's above average. But like I said, there's like about 4 or 5 things that I saw in this movie again that I said that were missing, and I'll just recap it again. The movie should have been 20 minutes longer. Sub-Zero and Scorpion's fight should have been a little bit longer as well. I didn't like that Johnny Cage was not in this movie, that he was disrespected and taken out. They didn't put him in, but he's going to be in the second one. But if Kano is going to be in the second one, it's going to clash with him. They're going to clash because their personalities are the same. Princess Katana was not in this movie at all, and her name was not mentioned, but her fans were showed, her blades. But also something I didn't like, we saw, obviously, like I said, and it was teased, that Scorpion's daughter apparently is alive, and Raiden took her in, but we don't know her name. So I'm like, who's her name? Is it Jade, or is it Princess Katana? That's all I can think of. But it's obviously probably going to end up being Jade. It's not Melina, it's not Princess Katana, so it'll probably be Jade. That's all I can think of right now. Kung Lao was not given the proper respect that he deserved. He was killed off too easily. I think he shouldn't have been killed off at all, if you want me to be honest. He's the only one that actually died, actually. Yeah, everybody was alive except him. I thought that was weird. All the heroes were alive except him. Isn't that weird? And they just got their abilities and whatnot, but they were able to stay alive. He was training them and he died, so I hope Kung Lao's brought back, and I hopefully he's alive. If they bring him back, he's like a zombie undead version of himself, like they kind of have in the Mortal Kombat new game that just came out recently, where him and Liu Kang are like zombie, half dead, basically characters in themselves because they died. we'll see what happens with that. Hopefully, Raiden and Shang Tsung didn't fight. Raiden didn't fight at all. I wanted to see that at least a little bit. At least if he didn't fight Shang Tsung, at least we could have got into a fight with Cabal and possibly Melina. But they said he couldn't get involved. But we'll see if Shang Tsung, maybe him and Shang Tsung could get into a fight, obviously, or Shang Tsung could send somebody at him. Like in the second movie, he fought Reptile after Shao Kahn sent Reptile after Liu Kang, obviously, Jax and Sonya and Sindel. He couldn't fight Sindel, but obviously Raiden did fight. Well, he could have fought Sindel, but she smacked him with her hair, which was turned into snakes like she was Medusa. It was weird. But he did fight Reptile in the second movie, 3 of them, as Mortal Kombat Annihilation. So we'll see what happens with that. Thank you again for watching, and let me know what you have to think about this movie. Again, like I said, in the video games, if it held up to it, I was glad it was rated R. Apparently the next Blade movie, is it Blade? I think the next Blade movie is not going to be rated R, so I'm not happy about that. When it comes to movies sticking to their lore, I'm going to see it though, but it's not starring Wesley Snipes, and it's not going to be rated R, so that's something that I'm not gonna like. I hope that they change that. Remember they did that with Deadpool too. Let's change Deadpool and do it. No, it's got to stay rated R. The character's not authentic, and the character is not authentic. That's obviously what we saw. Obviously in Mortal Kombat, this was different than the previous 2 movies. It was rated R, and they obviously stuck to it with the gore and obviously the cursing language, which I wasn't worried about that. I just wanted to obviously see if it was going to stick to that. It was obviously very bloody and whatnot, and we hope to keep that, because obviously when you cut that off, it cuts down obviously the big huge impact of people's not just their fatalities or the finishing moves, but obviously what they can do. So if somebody gets like shot or stabbed or something, you won't see barely any blood, or you'll see a little bit. And they didn't do that. They stuck to the rated R rating, which was great, like I said, and I enjoyed that. But like I said, we'll see what happens in the future and whatnot. But that's all I have to say about this. Again, my Mortal Kombat trailer breakdown that I did about 4 months ago is on Minds, Odyssey, and BitChute. It's 40 minutes long. I broke down the trailer. It was like 4 minutes, but I broke it down and talked about the whole entire history of it, because I wanted to make sure, I'm not doing it with this with no footage, but I wanted to make sure that I talk about it and obviously explain. I was very excited, like I said. Still enjoyed the movie. It was cool. It was above average, like I said, but there's some things that were missing that I wanted to see. I gave it, like I said, a 6 out of 10, or like a 6.5, a little bit teetering on that line. But like I said, if you want to see that, that's also on my channels on Odyssey, Library, Minds, and BitChute. I couldn't put it on YouTube because it was 40 minutes long. I obviously showed footage, and you can't. Well, the length and the time of the video wasn't the issue. It was that I showed the trailer footage and I reviewed it, just like on my Suicide Squad trailer reaction. I did the same thing. But I didn't put it on YouTube, obviously, because you can't do that. You get in trouble for that because they don't like that. But even though the video's on there, you're not gonna make money off of it. But they still don't like that because it's copyright legal issues and whatnot. So I have them on other websites, like I say, where you can watch them at. Thank you again for watching. Again, my name is Laquan Williams. This is my Mortal Kombat 2021 movie reboot discussion and obviously analysis, and talk about obviously the Mortal Kombat movies of the past as well, and how obviously how we got to this point. And if you haven't gotten the Mortal Kombat movies of 1995, 1997, I suggest you get them. Again, like I said, I have them right here. I got this on DVD on Amazon about 6-7 years ago. Like I said, check them out. You haven't seen them. A lot of people say Annihilation was terrible. Don't see it. If I were you, I would see it just to give your own opinion about it and see it. And listen, there's a lot of video game movies out here. Mario and Luigi, Street Fighter, and whatnot, Double Dragon. I've seen all of them. I grew up watching them. I was only a kid, 7-8 years old, watching all these movies, playing the video games, playing Mortal Kombat. And I don't hate the movies. I still watch them now to this day. That was what the 90s had. There was not a great, huge 3D amount of 3D technology back then. They didn't have big, huge budgets like they do now. And obviously these are video game movies, and so they tried to do the best they could. I know it wasn't great, but what we obviously understand is what they had at the time is what they were given and what they used. Just like in 1978 and 77, George Lucas's first Star Wars movie, A New Hope, he did and worked with what he had at the time with the technology. And even though it wasn't great to the people back back then it was big, huge, and it revolutionized obviously movies. And he made 5 more movies after that, 6 in total, and they're big, huge franchise movies and video games, stickers, posters, everything, and the big, huge merchandise, obviously, creation that was behind the franchise. Well, obviously, you can see what Star Wars is now. This is what happens when a movie and I would say a franchise doesn't stick to its not just its core base audience, but what created it as its lore from the beginning, going back to the very roots of its beginning, and obviously the creation of it. Mortal Kombat did in this movie, and it stuck to the hard R rating and the gore and the violence, obviously, and whatnot. But you wanted the story obviously to be a little bit better, and that's obviously something that we kind of didn't see. But it was cool, it was nice. But like I said, it could have been a little bit better. Some things are missing. I wish that weren't the case, but hopefully when the sequel comes out, we do get to see that, obviously. Still see the movie if you want to or not. I'm just saying, if you haven't seen it, you should, and check out, like I said, the movies of the past so you can understand how it is, obviously, now. Even if you just don't watch the movies and play the video games only, it's better to see the movies to see how far the franchise has gone from 1995 to 1997 until now in 2021, so you get to understand it better. And you can see other characters and whatnot, learn about them a little bit, and play the video games, read up on the lore. There's Mortal Kombat, Wikimedia websites where you can read about all the characters and their abilities and their lore and the beginning of their creation, their powers, to get to understand them, just like with other franchise comic book characters as well, like Marvel and DC. There's a website, obviously, like I said, websites for that, for Mortal Kombat, fan websites, forums, and whatnot, so you can see that. So that's all I have to say about this again. My review for Mortal Kombat, the 2021 movie review and reboot. Thank you again for watching. That's all I have to say about this. Thanks again. Bye. Thank you.